Are you ready to experience the magic of life? To see life from a perspective beyond the material world? To be free from the illusion? So how may we begin opening our third eye chakra? And what does this even mean? Consciousness, awareness, all that we experience in our realities happens within the awareness of consciousness. Are you the same you in your dreams as you are in real life? You might say, well, no, that's just a different version of me. And I would say, look closer. Are you not aware in real life and also aware in the dream state? You may not be aware of yourself, which would be lucid dreaming. You might not be aware that you're in a dream, but you are aware. The point I'm trying to make is that to tap into the third eye chakra, it is about consciously focusing your mind, your attention on this awareness. Because one may think about the third eye as such. I mean, generally, it's known that the third eye is the pineal gland. So let's just use that as an assumption. And so let's say that the pineal gland is the gateway in which this awareness springs. The gateway to the eternal in which the consciousness that we are arises out of. And then the consciousness floods into our brain, our body, and that is how we exist. So one may look at it as the more you focus your mind and your attention on this gateway to the eternal, the more the eternal opens up to you. And so this is how you will know if your third eye is open, or if you are in progress of opening your third eye, is that you will have more synchronicities, or perhaps may even feel as though you have a strong relationship with the universe, with God, because that is essentially what is happening. So the first step, as you may have guessed, is meditation. Focus your attention in the middle of your forehead, and at some point you might find that you get a kind of pressure there. You can feel it, it's a strong sensation. And it literally is really just pointing your eyes in that direction. So try that out next time you meditate. Me personally, I don't usually use that as a point in which I meditate on. But meditation should be a dynamic thing that's always improving and always changing and is alive, you know. So you try out different things. Look at your forehead. What you may be able to experience for yourself is that when you close your eyes and just with the intention of just observing what is there, what is, when you close your eyes, what you might find is, well, first of all, any noises in the environment, they're arising. Any thoughts that may arise, visual images, maybe any sensations or feelings in the body, emotions. But what is also there is an inner spaciousness, a sense of space within. And what you might say is within that space is a sense of presence. You may even see presence and the inner spaciousness as one. And so the majority of people in their lives, they focus their attention, their consciousness, their energy, they focus it on things that don't really matter so much. On the fears and the worries, all the negative emotions, all the negative thoughts, negative actions, addictions and vices. And so this is what will block your third eye, is when you are so stuck in your ways, with the story playing in your head over and over again about how how you might be a victim, how this person did this thing to you and the world is out to get me. When you spend your energy complaining about the same things over and over again, you become blinded to the truth and stuck in your own story, in this kind of nightmare possibly. Because we have to be aware that often we do not actually see or experience a factual, objective world. Most of the time, we are projecting our inner world onto everything else, onto other people. And that's where the saying came from, well, you don't experience reality as it is. You experience reality as you are. And what this means is that your outer environment is a reflection of what is within. So when you open up the third eye chakra by releasing the story, breaking out of the pattern, you go from having a nightmarish life where you focus on nothing but negative thoughts, negative emotions, things that steal your energy. And you can go from living a nightmare to living any dream that you'd like. Because consciousness is the creative force of existence, of reality. And so the more you are able to tap into consciousness, the more you can create any life that you desire, regardless of the external circumstances. You can spend your whole life trying to make your life right by doing all the things in the external world. But our reality will always be bottlenecked by us, to the level in which we develop within, in character. So if you're living a life full of suffering, if it feels like a nightmare, you have to change the story. And not even have to change it, you have to just observe it without giving it your energy. Once you realize that consciousness is the creative force of reality, then we realize that we must protect our energy at all costs. Because what we give our energy to, that is what we give life to. Energy, life, consciousness, it's all the same thing. And so there are three actions we can take. There is a negative action, a positive action, and a neutral action. The negative action, what people call sin or wrong action, is giving your energy to something that gives it nothing in return. So it steals your energy. The more we give our energy to the things in life that steal our energy, the less energy we will have, the less life force we will have within us. And where life is not, death is. So one falls into deep depressions. Someone feels like death, and then their external reality reflects that. So you're not only in hell in your mind, but you have created hell in the external world. So in order for one to open their third eye, they must be very careful at not conserving their energy, but managing it properly. And how we may do that is just by being aware of ourselves on a daily basis. Instead of getting so caught in doing things and staying busy, you just take a step back and you begin to watch yourself. And like a skill or like a habit, you can begin developing your awareness. And so the more you open your third eye, the more aware you become. It's synonymous with each other. So to recap, to open the third eye, we practice meditation, but the type of meditation we practice, whether you want to look at your forehead or watch your breath, it's not about the breath or focusing on a particular thing. The reason that we focus on one thing in one pointedness is so we can reach a stillness, because stillness is where consciousness is found. Consciousness is the eternal state, and what is eternal cannot be experienced or found in the changing, because they are opposites. That is why many people don't know God. It's because they're so distracted by the shiny objects in the world. They're too busy all over the place to have that kind of deep stillness where God, what you might call God's abode. And so the more you align yourself with the eternal over time by resting in the eternal now, or the eternal present moment, the more you become aligned with awareness, consciousness, the more you become aligned with the eternal, and the more you pave the way through the third eye, you get comfortable in this energy system. No different if you went to the gym for a long time and worked a specific area of your body. Would that body be stronger, more adaptable? Because more life force will have flowed through it. And so when we take our energy away from the negative things, the earthly things, things that aren't as important as we think they are, and focus it on the eternal, on the present moment, as awareness, consciousness, we become in harmony with life because we become aligned with the force of creation, with God. If we focus on the eternal first and foremost, then it is much easier to work on the temporary. That is why Christ said, "Seek first the kingdom of heaven, and everything else will be added onto you." Because if you are obsessed with the temporary world and have no connection to the eternal, well then you have gained nothing and gave away everything. But if you focus only on the eternal, you will have gained everything and lost nothing. Now this doesn't mean that we reject the world, because everything is in interdependence. It is all one. And so we must love the whole of being without rejecting anything. But it really is as simple as meditating and resting as awareness, and just observing yourself more. Develop that muscle of awareness. Then in a way, you kind of relax the third eye, and it can open and close with more ease. Whereas, they talk about the calcified pineal gland, where it's closed shut. The vessel has been, let's say, corrupted. The whole conspiracy that it, makes people more easy to control. And if the gateway to this life force, this eternal ocean of consciousness, is through the pineal gland, well then it is of the utmost importance to develop this energy center. Because the more life force we can allow in, the more we become a creator of our reality and can create any reality we desire. The more we will feel good, the more we will feel peace and love. The more energy or the more life force we have within us, the better we feel. And the less life force we have within us, the more we feel like death. What I'm talking about here is what was meant by heaven and hell. It's not even spiritual. It's a very practical idea. That is, we wake up every day and we have a certain amount of energy. And when we run out of energy, we have to go to sleep so we can recharge. But if during the day you're giving your energy to things that steal it, to these negative forces or negative actions, negative thoughts or emotions, if you're always feeding a negative story in your head, then you won't have access to the majority of your life force or energy. You may feel tired all the time, exhausted. You may not be motivated to do anything. And so one opens their third eye by default by giving their attention and the energy that they have to things that are positive. These positive things, positive thoughts, positive emotions, positive actions, these things give you more energy than you put out. And so, the more you focus your attention and energy on things that give you more energy, there's a positive feedback loop in which you become invigorated with life, and life becomes a dream and not a nightmare. It's really as simple as managing your energy. And then because you have become a vessel for consciousness, perhaps the universe says, okay, well, you're making good use of it. Why not give you more? Open up the pineal gland a bit more. So energy management is very important when dealing with the third eye energy system. This is how people succeed in life. And that is why people also fail. It's really as simple as this. And people might say, well, the circumstance of their environment, they got a bad hand dealt to them. That doesn't change the fact that you have all the power you need to change your life within you at this moment. Because again, consciousness is the creative force of existence. You cannot deny consciousness if you are awake or aware. The third eye energy system is what allows us to be creators, to think things into existence. The more consciousness you developed, the quicker the time in which your thought manifests in reality, or rather than thought, let's say desire. And what you will find is that a lot of creative people have strong third eyes, strong intuition. And when you're living in the third eye, life is very spontaneous and automatic. There's a flow to everything. You don't feel like you need to force anything. You have this sense that everything is exactly the way it needs to be. So you can let go of things easier. The world isn't so sticky. You don't hold on to things. It's almost like as soon as an experience comes, it is just as soon let go. And what you find is that this is the fastest route to the highest potential that we can manifest. This ties into the idea of raising our frequency. So when we try and improve our lives in the external world, in the physical universe, we will always be limited by that which is temporary and changing. There's a limitation. But if you turn within and focus your awareness, or focus your attention on awareness, on consciousness, on the presence within you, then you begin aligning yourself with the eternal. And the eternal by default transcends the entire temporary universe. So people can spend their whole lives trying to make their lives better in the external world and only get so far. But one can turn inward, and the more that the mind is focused in a one-pointed fashion towards our inner presence, on consciousness, on awareness, then we by default rise to higher states of vibration. And without even trying, you fix all the problems in your life because you are aligned with the force of harmony itself. Your very nature becomes harmonious. And so slowly but surely the outer environment begins to reflect that inner harmony. And so the third eye can actually help you balance your other energy systems, but it can also be dangerous because you can become highly ungrounded if you have strong energy blockages in the lower centers. That is why people claim that it can be dangerous to open your third eye, and don't go into this so willy-nilly with a kind of naive eagerness, because you may get what you ask for, but you may have not understood the consequences. But you cannot go wrong being more aware, rather than looking at it as opening your third eye chakra, which means it's just an idea, a fancy idea. Rather focusing on an abstract fancy idea, see in the present moment and experience for yourself. Because when you get to these higher energy centers, words begin to fail you. Let's just say above the throat chakra, words begin to no longer be that helpful. So rather than trying to achieve something, rather than having a goal, you be content doing and being nothing by letting go completely and just being at ease in the present moment. One may look at this as putting on the armor of God, because in this state where you are most connected with consciousness, your relationship with God is at its closest. And you feel a strong contentment and no worries, no fear. You could have negative thoughts try and come at you and attack you, but you still feel safe. You feel secure because you are rooted in the innermost core of your being. And this is where a lot of spiritual people, they get caught in the ego traps that they're trying to escape. And that is, they build an identity that says, I am a spiritual person on a spiritual journey trying to achieve something. I'm trying to achieve enlightenment. But it is this very desire that blinds one and keeps one from that desired state. So when you let go of the desire to be enlightened, when you let go of the identity of being any kind of spiritual person on a spiritual journey, that is how one can unblock the third eye energy center, or to allow energy to flow more freely through it. But so long as we keep reinforcing this idea that we are separate from consciousness, we are separate from God, our full access to the higher states of consciousness will be blocked. So it's really as simple as the more we develop our awareness, the more the third eye opens. We can practice awareness as we go through our daily lives and in meditation. In fact, what seems to me to be the highest form of meditation is not actually meditation at all. People kind of get caught in the trap of, I'm going to meditate at 9 a.m. every morning without fail, and I'm going to be consistent about it. But there's no reason not to be in a meditative state of mind at all times. Not meditation in that you are living a life that is sluggish and slowed down necessarily. It's just that you are always kind of in this place of awareness. Your life unfolds before you and you watch it unfold, and you lose the sense of what they call doership. You don't feel like you're doing things all that much. You feel like things are just unfolding. And so that's another milestone that you may experience when opening the third eye chakra. And so the more we focus on awareness, being more self-aware, being more aware in general, the more we fall into this state of kind of naturally surrendering to the present moment. You may even look at a lot of these things as synonymous, such as awareness, consciousness, meditation, present moment. It all leads back to this one realization. So first, in the mind, you can come to the realization through knowledge and intuitive understanding that my true nature is consciousness. And then when you look within and you become present in the moment, present in stillness, and we practice this through meditation, we not only know intellectually that we are consciousness, but we experience it. Well, it's not that we experience consciousness, it's that we experience the radiance of consciousness. Because we cannot experience what we are one with. We are consciousness. You can see, but you cannot be seen. It's a tricky thing because, well, I like to say that the truth is like your nose. It's so close to your face that often the only way to see it is by looking in the mirror. And so that is what meditation, self-awareness is all about. It's about recognizing your true self and realizing that these concepts in your mind about who you believe yourself to be are just concepts. They're just ideas and thoughts, perspectives, data accumulated from a lifetime and believed in. And so the more you open your third eye, deepen the connection to the divine, the more you begin letting go of what is called karma. And all that is, in this scenario, is information that has been stored in the body and in the brain from the past versions of you, your experiences. And the more you rest, let's call it, in the presence of God, the more you are wiped clean. You become more pure. The things that used to trigger you no longer have any effect. You can let go of the past, you can move on. You can have the freedom and the peace that many people desire but can't find. God was always the only one you were looking for. We just look for God in all the wrong places. But, in fact, what's funny is that even in the vices, in the temporary things, in the temporary pleasures, we search for God and we get these tiny hits. I like to think of it as like, you know how the guinea pigs, they have the water thing? And they go, and they gotta like kind of, you know, they only get a bit, like a drop at a time kind of thing. People are like that, but with God. They get these tiny drops of happiness, of feeling good, of peace. And their whole lives are spent trying to get more of it. That is why people fall into addictions and self-destructive behavior. Because they were trying to find God in things that were stealing their energy. And so eventually, the more you give your life force away, the more you will manifest death in your life. That is why people die from addictions, from their past and their trauma. Death cannot manifest so easily when you are aligned with life. How could it? Where life is, death is not. These things cannot be in the same place at the same time. Unless you're talking about the moment of birth or the moment of death. Because birth and death are two polarities of one thing, so they can never be separated from each other. Which means that when we are born into this world, we die from another. And when we die from this world, we are born into another. Now these are just ideas, but you see, the third eye has a lot to do with death and also birth. Think about it. Every morning, consciousness arises, it awakes, it emerges from nothing. We emerge from a state of deep sleep, from nothingness. And so we are born into the day, and then when we go to sleep at night, consciousness retracts, and we die for a short time. The only difference is, in this world, we can measure things in time. But it's much more difficult to quantify a world in which time does not exist. Space and time is a boundary, it's a limitation. But the eternal has no boundaries, it has no limitations. Perhaps you may have had dreams or psychedelic experiences that felt like they lasted a lifetime. Or maybe you feel like it was multiple lifetimes or thousands of years. Because we're talking about a place in which time does not exist. It's not a factor. And so the third eye energy system is about being in the eternal, connecting, aligning, becoming harmonious with consciousness, with life itself. But if you were to remember anything of what I have said, the core of the understanding is absolutely so simple and so beautiful. And that is, the eternal is this present moment, which means it can never be separated from you, which means take all the time you need because it's not going anywhere. And that whenever you choose, the eternal God is there waiting for you to come home. Reach out in open arms and rejoice. My only purpose is to take refuge in the arms of God, because that is the only thing that truly matters. And so just focus your awareness in the present moment and just have this as a seed in your mind. You don't have to, this is not so much about doing things, this is not so much about how a normal kind of disciplined person might look at it, for instance. This is not about doing anything, it's about letting go. In fact, it's about not doing. Consciousness awareness isn't really doing anything, it just is. And so the more you're trying to do things and be somebody, that is when you get caught in the lower energy centers, which is not a bad thing. But what we are talking about is that if you want to open your third eye chakra and have connection to the divine, we must let go of our earthly attachments, earthly identities. We begin resting in the unconditioned consciousness, pure awareness, the eternal present moment. This is truly what everybody has been seeking, but we seek out into the world for love and peace and happiness. We think that we can find lasting satisfaction in a temporary world, but lasting satisfaction can only come with something that is eternal. Because the eternal is everlasting. Seek God and the kingdom of heaven first, and then everything will be added on to you. That is what this means. Gain everything that is. Gain yourself. Well, it's not even about gaining anything because you are it. You have to not have something in order to gain it. But as I said, and see why it is tricky, you cannot be separated from God. You are already free. You are already born enlightened. That is why it was said that unless you come to me as little children, you will not enter the kingdom of heaven. Because when we are born, we are one with the eternal, with consciousness, with God. And it isn't until we become older and develop a sense of separate self do we close off our access to the higher energy centers. The energy blockages occur because in order to survive as an animal, as a human being, we must repress certain behaviors, certain traits in order to fit in the tribe. But this causes a lot of problems. This causes us to repress aspect of ourselves, and that blocks the flow of energy. Because all the trauma, all the negative emotions, they get stored in our body because we're talking about biochemical reactions, electrical impulses in the brain, thoughts, and electrical signals throughout our bodies. This has physical effect within all the different aspects of our body. And so, the more we are caught in the earthly identity and forget about our eternal nature, that is why energy blockages might occur in the pineal gland, why it may be calcified. But the danger is that if you have a strong third eye energy center, but your lower three energy centers are out of alignment, you become like these self-destructive artists, highly creative, highly in touch with the divine, but they don't know how to manage their lives, and so they give their energy, they give their power away through being a slave to addictions and bad habits and self-destructive behavior. So fundamentally, I might even say that the lower three energy centers are the most important because they can cause a lot of problems in our life. But through focusing on the third eye energy center, we become more aware. We have more information coming in to deal with and balance our other energy centers. So it's really up to you what you decide. It's your energy. Nobody can tell you how to live your life but you. And intuitively you will understand where you need to balance your energy. You may want to open the third eye chakra, but maybe you need to focus on the root chakra instead. Only you can understand where you need to focus your attention on.